Imagine owning a business that's worth $10 million dollars and continuing to grow, where you get to select your clients. Imagine that. Well, my next guest, Managing Director Paul Cowan of Cowan Air and Cowan Doors, is going to join us and explain exactly how he created a business that does that. Let's go.
Hi folks, welcome to the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast by Gary Ryan from Organisations That Matter. In this podcast, Gary shares everything about servant leadership, service leadership, authentic leadership, how to create high performance cultures, service excellence, and life balance. Here's your host, Gary Ryan.
Thank you, Sienna, for your lovely introduction. Hi, folks. We're very, very lucky to have Paul Cowan with us. How you doing, Paul?
Good, thanks, Ryan. How are you? Good.
I'm going awesome, mate. Now, how long you been in business for?
Since 91, which is a few years now.
Yeah, that's what's that? 34 years in business, and what's the evolution
Correct.
of the business has been over that journey? Because you've got quite a number now.
I finished my air conditioning apprenticeship and handed my notice in the day I was qualified and started my own business mostly out of ignorance and determination, not knowledge. So, but I was also running a cleaning business in the background, which funded me to have the courage to start my own air conditioning company. So that was helpful.
So Cowan
Also taught me a few tricks on how to actually run a business.
So Cowan Air was the first sort of major business, but you had this cleaning business you were running in the background while you were doing your apprenticeship.
Correct.
Okay, and how did that one come about? That interests me.
That I just went. One of the technicians I was working with went for an interview at a James Hardie business to move ship, and I walked in, and the estate manager of that business was my old boss who'd moved over there. And I said to him, "Is a buck stop with you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You must be ashamed of this place. It's filthy." He goes, "I pay a cleaner a fortune." I said, "Well, pay me a fortune and I'll do it." And that's how it started as a joke. And we ended up, he gave me the job. And I said to him, "I'll do it for half the price of the other company." Yeah. And I gave him the quote, which was the same price. And I said to him, "Yeah, but I'm going to do twice as much work. So it's half the price." So anyway, that started off the first contract in Swan Street, Richmond, near where the Lamborghinis are now. So where Zagami's is.
Nice,
So,
nice.
and then I ended up with about 25 contracts, and I had staff working for me as an apprentice.
We're going to dive into lessons, but what was one key lesson that you then carried straight into Cowan Air?
The fundamentals of running the tax and paperwork side of a business, a little bit about dealing with clients and staff, and that gave me a basic understanding that I could run a air conditioning company as a one-man show at the start anyway.
You got did the cleaning business stay going for a little while, or did you?
I kept it for another 2 or 3 years after I started, and then one of the supervisors bought it off me, took a couple of years to pay it off, and he took it over. So, and
Nice.
then I just focused on the air conditioning business
So he did like a
up until, he was just that was just a one of the workers that put his hand up and said, "I'll buy the business off you."
via like a leverage
So the
buyout
cleaning
style?
business,
Is that what it was, or?
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
and he took over all the contracts in the name, and I walked away. So
Fantastic. And,
then I focused on the air conditioning business only because it was, getting quite busy.
yeah. And so how long were you on your own for before you then got your first team member in?
About less than 2 years, and it was just basic word and mouth where people would just refer me, and I got that busy. I needed to put another employee on, and it just went from there.
And just for context, how many Cowan Air vehicles driving around now?
Where I think we're currently got about 26 or thereabouts, and about maybe half a dozen subcontractors as well running around.
And so just for the uninitiated, we'll talk about each business, but what are specifically the services that have expanded over time that Cowan Air are providing?
Cowan Air built its name on giving the best service you could get in the industry, so that the clients had no choice but to keep calling us and refer us to their friends. So we built up, we got to half a dozen techs, and then my challenge wasn't the clients, it was actually the staff, trying to get them to see the vision, understand the vision, and deliver it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a bigger challenge that the troops on the road were pretty up to speed with what we were trying to do. They had their human error every now and again, but they were pretty on it. It's mainly the admin management team. They're the ones that I struggled with the most, to try and get them to see the vision and help build the business.
So that would be a pretty common challenge, I would say, a lot of business owners are going through. What would be like a couple of key things that you felt that over time you've done to help the management admin team get on board with the vision and understand it, and equally have some empathy and understanding about what's going on with the technicians out in the field?
I quickly realised that you can't manage people by sitting down and talking to them about what you need them to do. You actually need to have documented proof of performance. So, because their interpretation of what they're doing and what they're actually doing, there's a big gap a lot of the time. So I looked around at software trying to get those numbers in front of me, and I was inspired by a guy that I employed as a manager, and he was giving a bonus of it might have been a $5,000 plasma, and he got the plasma and destroyed the business in getting it. So the long-term vision was destroyed, short-term gain, he got the profit, he hit his KPIs, and he got his plasma. And I sat him down and said, the merit of what we're doing here is destroyed, but you got your plasma. So I think that we need to rethink this whole thing. And he just wanted his plasma. So it clearly made me realize that you can set targets, but they've got to be the right ones.
Yes.
So
100%. Yeah.
no software out there actually gave me the right vision to deal with it. So I ended up building my own software, which now gives me reports that I don't think any other company that I've spoken to come close to it in analysing the business from a performance point of view, managing the managers and managing the guys on the road.
Yeah.
So that's the most important tool that we've got. Yeah.
Yeah, because
without that, I'd be blind. I'd be running blind. Yeah. Now, there's other programs out in the market that will allow you to do it, but you're not getting the detailed, specific needs that you have in this business. So I actually wrote the software to sell it to other businesses, and I did that, but quickly realised that you're challenging another business to apply this software, apply some business disciplines, and be accountable. So the owner's accountable. That sometimes doesn't work because not every owner wants to be accountable. The management team's accountable. That mostly don't want to be. And the techs or your troops don't want to be accountable, not to the point where it's black and white. So the resistance you get with software is a complete change of business. That became too hard. And I thought, from a lifestyle point of view, I'm not selling software because you're banging your head against the wall. So I sold it to a couple of businesses in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, and then they're still using it and love it, but I'm not selling it to anyone else at this stage.
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen that software, and it is magic, folks. I've got to say, I might be doing my best to persuade Paul to have another revisit to that, because, as you say, it's about identifying what the right measures are, the right KPIs. And that can take some time, but it's about having the data so that people know where they're at from a performance perspective. And then as a business owner, you're also, you know where things are at, you know where problems emerge, because the graphs tell you, like the trends tell you what's going on. You can look at it in a heartbeat and go, I got an issue over here. Okay, let's give it the attention. Which means, as an owner, I mean, one of the things that really has impressed me with what I've seen that you've created, Paul, is how, as an owner, you're able to apply your attention and effort and time where it's needed. And equally, you've trained some of your management team now to be able to
Yeah.
do that on your behalf, which is just
Yeah.
fantastic. But it's not just Cowan Air. You've got more businesses. So let's keep
Cowan
talking
tools,
about them.
but finishing on the software, it's 3-click technology. So within 3 clicks, you should have everything in front of you. So we've got technicians that start on the road that get a rundown. They double up with a tech for a day or two. They're fully understanding the software, and they're independent then. I've heard stories of other companies where they've introduced software and staff have gone out on stress leave because they can't do their timesheet because it's just too difficult to use.
Yes.
But someone that starts with us, it may as well be with us for 20 years, because when they arrive on a property, they've got the full history of what's the special instructions, what's open, have they approved quotes, who's been there last, where to access the building. All those questions are already answered at their fingertips. So that's helpful. That has been monumental to the ongoing success.
So another element of that, and we'll dive into the other businesses, which this system's applied to too, folks. So
Yep.
When Paul starts talking about his other businesses, the same software's applied here. So Paul, a technician's out on site. Often they'll rock up, speak to the point of contact there that I'm here for A, B, and C. The client says, "Yeah, you are here for A, B, and C. Can you do D as well?" I mean, this sort of thing happens all the time. Does the software actually help reduce the time at which you can get D organized so you can do it as well?
Yep. On arrival, they know exactly where to go, what to do, what's going on. They can say to the client, "I understand you've got 3 outstanding quotes you haven't approved. We've also got 2 jobs open on this property. Yeah. Is there anything else I can help you with?" And clients go, "Hold on, that's not normal from trades to know all that." Now, that could be someone that's worked for us for 3 days. They've got all that knowledge. That creates a good working environment where the clients are happy to see us, the staff are happy because the client's happy to see you. So it creates a really good culture. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to leverage off that software, I went to the industry, all our clients, and said, "What do you dislike about the industry the most? And what do you dislike about the Cowan Group the most? And whatever they are, I'll make them our strengths."
When did you do that?
Oh, I've done it a couple of times, but I did that, would have been in the middle of developing the software, going, "Okay, I need to develop this software around what the clients need and what the staff need and what the business needs. So let's go and look at all of it and put it together as one package."
Yes. And
So
yeah, I love the question. What do you most dislike about the Cowan Group, and having the willingness to ask that question, because a lot of businesses avoid that question.
yeah. And the industry, and so it was an interesting read. But then the way that software is only one part, then you've got to apply a business discipline to the software.
Of course.
Yeah?
Yes.
So I adapted a view that staff members, when you start talking about profit, they think it's a big black hole, that the owner's got this massive amount of unlimited funds. So we talk about missed opportunity income, missed opportunity hours. So if we're 3 hours of downtime, and let's assume our hourly rate's $100 an hour, we talk about a missed opportunity income of $300.
Yes.
Which is a different mindset to profit. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, and not only that, the culture here is that those 3 hours are against that person's name, and they don't want to see it against their name, so they want to avoid it. Yeah.
Yes.
And it ends up being a culture of people wanting to be fully chargeable instead of being okay to not be chargeable. So which means you've got to be efficient with making sure you got the right parts, the schedule's right, so the coordinators they've got the same culture going. So everyone has a little focus on making sure that we don't have this missed opportunity income problem. Yeah. And against their name as well. So that's very different to talking about we lost so many dollars in profit.
Yes,
because the staff see that very differently.
Yeah, it's relatable to the staff, Paul. And so
Yeah,
that challenge that you initially shared about trying the challenges associated with trying to implement the software for some of the companies because of the accountability piece. This is highly on accountability that you're talking now.
yep.
What are one or two things that you've done to actually help persuade your team to embrace that level of accountability?
To create a working environment where the employer of choice, so you've got a good environment, and to have a good environment, you don't want clients ringing you saying, complaining that you haven't delivered on your promises. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, um, it's not just paying good wages and providing a good office and good tools and cars and whatever you need. It's actually having an environment where the clients are emailing us and we get a dozen a week. Thank you for the great service. Yeah, that's the balance of a good working environment where the staff then start to become proud of that and the brand and go, right, this is, we need to deliver on our word and we need to deliver within the KPIs that the business has set. And
Yeah.
that's the holistic view of a good business model where the staff are happy to come to work. I've employed or interviewed staff that, why are you leaving? Well, I'm sick of getting abused when I turn up the site because the client's been waiting 2 months for us to fix something. Or an admin person says, I'm sick of being abused on the phone all day. And I said, well, we get 12 thank yous and no abuses. Yeah.
Yeah. Come and work with
So
us.
yeah, but that's, and there's another thing to that too, is that you don't allow the clients to control your business. So you choose which clients you get, and you choose the standards that you work within. And if those clients need to have a respect for what we're doing and appreciate it, and if they don't, then it's not going to work.
You've shared with me what a lot of people would see as a high degree of courage. You see it as smart business. With some of the clients that over time you've actually exited them because they didn't show that respect for your staff and stuff. And
Well,
folks, I've got to say that
the backbone, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
the
like
backbone of the business is, you can't, if you haven't got solid clients, you haven't got a solid business.
absolutely, and it's a two-way
Now,
relationship, isn't it?
so we have excluded builders because of obvious reasons from financial stability. They're also a lot of the time not organised, and you turn up to site and you have to walk away and you can't actually be efficient because you got other people in your way. So we focus on occupied buildings where we can control the environment. No building sites, no unions, no tenders. Tenders aren't loyal, and the cheapest person wins. And you don't discount quality. This is our price. If you're discounting your services, then that's really not the right. I've never believed that's the right way to run a business. If you're providing a quality service, why would you discount it?
Yeah, well, you look, and I think you're in a fairly decent position of authority, Paul, because of the growth of your business over time. And if you're happy to share what revenue you went from year one to what you are now, that you don't have to share, but if you're happy to share that give the audience
Sort
some.
of started it. I was pretty excited when I was a one-man show back in the early 90s, making, turning over 300 grand, 400 grand, and then put a couple of staff on, and was excited to get to $1 million turnover, thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I thought, turnover, I've shifted my focus from turnover to profit.
Yes, of course.
So, and built it up to, over $10 million turnover.
Yeah.
So, based on saying no to a lot of things, all those builders, no to a client, any client that wants more than, 5 or 10% of our turnover, so that we're not going to be in strife if anyone leaves, because you've spread your workload across all the clients, and not, I go into some clients and talk to them, or business colleagues, and they've got one client like Woolworths selling everything to them. It's like, oh my goodness, or Woolworths and Coles only. It's like, that's not a business to me. That's a disaster in my
Yeah.
view. But
Yeah.
everyone's got their business beliefs and how they should run. But I think low risk, high return, and a good lifestyle are the three things that you need to consider when you're making a decision.
Yes.
So I had a big supermarket chain that wanted me to take over 370 sites and I said no. And they go, no, we've actually been recommended by you, and we really want you to do it. And I thought they don't fit the low risk, high return, and good lifestyle. On the weekends, they will ring and be difficult. They'll be a high risk because they'll be a big volume, and they'll be a low return. They wanted it as a discount. So there was nothing good about that volume business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, we've actually been low in work or had enough work, and I've got rid of a fast food chain like the KFCs or McDonald's or those type of people. Yeah.
Yes.
Where I got rid of 60 or 80 sites, and the team go, what do you, I said, well, they want a discount. They've actually met me and they've told me they're dropping the price and they're re-signing. And I said, well, no. And they called my bluff and I said, no. Back to the office and everyone was like, we haven't got enough work to sustain the current team. And I said, well, now we've got an open space to focus on the clients that are valuable, and we'll build it around that.
Let's go.
And we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, I've got no fear in getting rid of a client that's no good.
So how did Cowan Doors come about?
So I actually expanded Cowan Air to Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and realised very quickly that I've got doubled my overheads, I've doubled my travel, and I've got to get on a plane to do it. Melbourne is more based on relationships when you're in business. Brisbane is and Gold Coast is very very transactional, and they'll sell you out for $1. So I went, hold on, this is not the space for me. So I decided, instead of doubling my overheads, I sold that off to a guy that I'm still in contact with, and I'll open a second business in Melbourne and halve my overheads. So have it run out of the same property. And looked at electrical, plumbing, fire, all that stuff. And I came across a guy that's selling a commercial roller door company called Statewide Roller Doors in 2012.
Right.
And I ended up moving him into my building and watching it run before I bought it. And then worked out the lay of the land and ended up buying that and rebranded it at Cowan Doors. And from what I bought it back in 2012, it's probably about 4 or 5 times bigger than it was. And it wasn't business that had all those challenges that needed that software and the business disciplines to take it to the next level.
Yeah. Like, talking about accountability, not far off the word Cowan, actually, in that word, accountability.
Yeah. I like that.
You like that. Your knowledge over time, and you're certainly someone that does take accountability, does take responsibility, is quite prepared to make decisions, as you highlighted there before. Went to up north, doubled my overheads, had to get on a plane to make that happen. Quickly worked out, actually, this isn't really a great business decision. So then you acted quickly, sold the business, supported that person in taking over. Thought, okay, there's another opportunity down here. Brought someone in with something that you thought might be something, being the statewide roller doors. Got to learn the lay of the land, as you said. Picked up, I can actually make this bigger. You've 4 to 5 exits since you've taken over since 2012. Who have you leaned on, or how did you find people to lean on over time to help you with your business now, Paul? How did that bit happen?
I ended up crossing paths with some very successful business people through looking after their commercial office buildings and whatever their owners of that. Ended up, they liked my style, so we'd end up going out for dinner, and then that would catapult me into a new group of people, and then those guys would be another group of people, and before you know it, I'm surrounded by some extremely successful but good, decent people that are successful. I also came across some people that I wasn't aligned with and quickly deleted them. But these guys, and then you can actually openly talk to them about your business challenges, your profit, your wealth, everything that you've achieved, you can actually talk to them without being judged, being misunderstood, and that's been super helpful. And we've ended up with a group of guys that lean on each other. And some guys blow me away. They ring me up and they're in multi-billion-dollar businesses asking me how they should deal with the boardroom issue they've got, because they think I'm quite direct and clean about the way someone needs to be told something. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they go off and do it, and it terrifies me because don't follow my direction. They go, no, that's fucking great. That's exactly what needs to happen. So, yeah, that's been very helpful because I'm the only one here making decisions.
Yes.
So, in my business, and I've got no partner to lean on. So, I've got to be disciplined, even to the point where if I want to buy myself a toy or something personal, I set some rules about I need to achieve something. It might be getting the management team more efficient, whatever it is. Once I've got that established, then I'll go and reward myself with the bonus. And you were talking about problems in a business. I said, when there is a problem, the first thing I do is, where have I contributed to it? Have I not trained? Do we not have the right process? Have I employed the wrong person for the role before I even bother going to that person? And then you've got to make a decision. Well, if they're not trained or you haven't got the right process, then sort that out. If it's the wrong person, then sit them down and be very clear with them. This is the expectation. If you can't meet it, it's not going to work. So let's see how we go. Or do you want to call it a day now? Because this is not going to work with this particular situation continuing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get a mixed response from being direct. Some people, I've had people at an interview agree to be employed and they've flown their flag. They've gone home and thought about it and thought, I don't want to work here because it's a place where it's flexible, rewarding, but also accountable. So and they email back saying, "Oh, sorry, I found another job." And I've been very clear, putting them on that we'll be flexible. You can, if you've done your job, we're not clock watchers. If you've done your job and you've got to leave early one day, go early one day. We're not pushing a hard barrow. We're after a really good outcome, and we want you to be here for a long time. So it's like a lifestyle where you can be a bit flexible to do what you need to do during the day sometimes, providing you're getting the results.
Yeah. I mean, again, if folk ever get to come to your head office and just see just how beautiful it is for a business that's in the trades, mate, you have a beautiful office. Like it's a great reflection of everything that
I built this group, which you saw, lunch area. That's one of the girls that started recently didn't really click with the team, and every Friday we buy lunch for the whole office and we sit as a group and have a chat. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but after we had that lunch and she was there, she said to me, I actually have now gelled with the whole team because we sat there and bonded for an hour. Yeah. And there's no clock watching whether lunch is, 30 minutes or 45. It's just whatever conversation on the day is happening, you let it roll. So like when we call in all the techs on the road for a team meeting, it's technically a toolbox meeting, but it's a bonding session.
Yeah, yeah.
So we get catering for that, and they talk and talk and talk, and you let them go, and you're not pushing them out the door. It's like that, do your bonding, and then we'll be a stronger business.
Well, one of the days when I was there, you some cars were getting detailed, and I quizzed you about it, and you said I regularly do it, and the vehicles look just amazing. They just look, every single one of them brand new. It's like this is symbolic.
Presentation and work environment is important. A client sees you turn up with a professional, clean vehicle and uniform. Your workspace in particular is clean the whole time. The client assumes that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But if it's a dirty work environment, they start looking around for fingerprints or scratches, and so you don't give them a reason to question you.
So Someone wanting to start out in business, would there be three key things that you would say to them? Because it's look, let's be brutal honest. Running businesses in Australia is hard, right? But one of the things I
Difficult.
say to people is, it's hard not having what you want, and it is hard having creating what you want. So choose your hard, right? So if you want to be in
Mm.
business, if you really want to
Yep.
be in business, choose the hard of being in business. So for folk that might be thinking, I want to choose that hard, what would be
Someone asked me the other day, and I said, and look, I said, go and work in that industry before you go and decide to borrow money and open up a business. Yeah. Go and work in someone else's business and see how the industry works,
Yep.
and preferably in the management team, and understand it and see whether you like it and see whether or not it's viable and see whether or not it's actually going to be a solid, profitable, long-term business. It's not a fad. Yeah. And then if you've ticked that box and you've understood that, then my preference is that if anyone in the business can have it over you, then you're in strife. So I'll never run a restaurant because I'm not a chef. If a chef comes to me one day and says, I want, and starts putting demands on me, I want to be a chef so that I'll say, well, you can nick off and I'll start cooking. Yeah. But so um, I've got an electrical and a refrigerator and air conditioning license. So all the technicians on the road and all the admin team, I can fill those roles. A bit
Yes.
rusty on the tools, but I could fill them. But I can also can't because I'm technical. I can actually get involved in whether someone's taking the advantage of the place or whether they're doing a good job. And also, my input is valuable to give technical direction when we're in strife somewhere. So I think it's important but that's not critical, but it's ideal if you can. If you can be able to replace any role, that's handy.
Just to be clear there, you're saying the main technical attributes of what the businesses are about, you're
Yeah,
advocating you want to be someone who has those skills.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if an accountant goes and buys an air conditioning or roller door company, he's going to make business decisions that that aren't completely in line with what the technicians might need, the clients need, and and he won't know whether people are pulling the wool over his eyes because they'll tell him something, and he just have to look at them and go, "Okay, no, you sound convincing." So that's, and I've seen that with people that run businesses that don't understand, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the business, and they go and buy a business, and like the chef one, and the chef's ordering all this food in, they don't understand that food's going to get thrown out because they don't understand the numbers, yeah. So they can't work out whether they're not making any money.
Mm.
So same with technical. So the preference is, but it's not mandatory, but it's very solid if you can be in that position. So that's really important. And then go and whatever business that is. So you got past that hurdle. Whatever business it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You've got to be the best at that industry. So whatever you're delivering in, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's air conditioning, roller doors, whatever it is, go and find out what the industry is doing, and then do it better than everyone else. And then doing it better than everyone else means being the employer of choice and being the provider of choice.
Mm.
And then you end up getting people coming to you that want to work for you, and you get clients that ring up and want to come on board as well. So, and then you can then choose who you work for, yeah, and who you employ. But if you're not very good at it, then you go and work for tenders because you can get the cheapest one win. So it doesn't mean you're good, but you'll get volume. You'll get volume with no profit.
Mm.
Yeah. And if you're not good, you'll get volume with no profit and an inefficient business that doesn't actually know how to make that happen either. So it just becomes a compounding problem.
Yeah.
So you've got to be committed to being the best in your sector, and from an employee and client point of view, and then make the right decisions. That saying no is very successful. Saying yes to everyone digs yourself a hole.
Yeah. I mean,
because then you end up with the wrong clients or too much work.
yeah, you've also got yourself into the position over these 34 years and certainly more recently where you've been able to have your focus on some other things are about where you're going into the future and the business is still run exceptionally well. I mean, you've shared some pretty incredible.
It runs pretty well without me. I could during summer 2 years ago. I took a month off and went overseas with the family. Came back and then renovated a new office building that we were doing. So I was pretty out of the business for 6 months. In those 6 months, I was there if they needed me to be, but I wasn't there at all. Yeah, other than that. And I was just overseeing the numbers and everything was working. And in my absence, the business actually grew in those 6 months, efficiency and volume. And then we moved into the new building, and that's the culture of the business, the software, the clients, the whole structure that I put in place to make that happen.
Yeah.
So that's allowed me to do some property development renovations, if you like, in the background, um, and use the cash flow from the business to allow me to do that as well. So and that's actually helpful to get out of your business, do that, then you can come back in and look at it clearly. If you're there every day, sometimes you can get not to really see what's going on.
Just to wrap up today, because obviously with Cowan Air and Cowan Doors, the naming of the business and using your own name, like when you first started, I mean,
Well, that's interesting. Someone said to me, "Don't use your own name," and I said, "Why?" And they go, "If you go broke, your name will be mud." I said, "If you think that you're not going to give it your all and you're going to screw it up, then don't start it in the first place. Back yourself fully and get on with it. Don't start with, oh, let's hide and call it, PAC air conditioning, in case it goes broke, because that's just setting yourself up for the wrong mentality."
Yeah.
So someone asked me what's the key to my success, and it's saying no to the wrong things, which means you've got to know what the right things are. And it's not through knowledge, it's through determination. When something goes wrong, be determined to put your hand up and go, yes, I acknowledge that and we'll fix that today, and then we'll work out a solution that we won't do it again.
I'm interested. I'm interested in this thought on this because I agree. If I was starting my business again, I would actually use my name. I would definitely do that.
Yeah,
it's just that organisations that matters well established now. I'm not going to go changing that, but I definitely over the journey, that willingness to put your name behind everything is absolutely there. I'm interested in your thoughts on this statement because again with the people in the sort of startup space, I explained to them that when you commit to your business, that commitment has to include the willingness to actually lose everything. Now, you're not worried that you're going to lose everything, but it's like when you jump off the end of a pier, right? When you commit to jumping off once you're in the air, you're going to hit the water one way or another. It's going to be a soft landing, a nice landing, a ballywhack, or whatever it's going to be. But there's that mindset of that willingness to go, I am actually going all in here to make it a success. But that willingness to make it a success, there's a degree.
I don't know if
you've got to go, I might lose everything. What do you think?
If I'd use the word willingness, I put a different spin on it. Instead of the willingness to lose everything, acknowledge that to make you determined to be successful and have a cash flow positive business. Someone said to me once, there was a particular guy that I know, and he said, I've just gone to the bank and I've got $100,000 loan and I'm going to start a business. I go, what are you doing with the $100,000? Why have you got a loan? What do you need it for? He goes, I need it for the cash flow. He had no idea what he was doing. And I said, mate, if you jump on a bike and ride at 100 miles an hour, if you've never driven a bike before, what do you reckon is going to happen? You're going to crash. Yeah. So why are you going boots and all and trying to build an empire in a day? Just step by step. You don't have any product, any sales, any clients. You've got nothing. But you've gone and done that. Put some things in place slowly and build it. Don't try and wake up one morning and have it all done. Because I don't think the starting a business just in debt for no good reason is the right way to start a business. Yeah. I said to him, the best business you can do, and it might sound unrealistic to some people, is start a business that's cash flow positive from day one. Get deposits up front. On completion, get full payment. You're not funding anyone, and that those jobs should be profitable. And straight up, you don't actually need very little money to start your business. And the people that don't want to pay that deposit up front and full payment on completion, give them another option. Google another company. Only deal with the people that will actually fit your. But to be able to be that confident in doing that, you're going to have a really good product and a really good service to actually demand that. You can't demand that if you're not really delivering on something that's worth that.
Yeah, and you got to be 100% sold on yourself. You got to believe that we're going to deliver, and you got to be willing to do the work. What would be what are the easiest ways for people to find out about how to access some services from Cowan Air or Cowan Doors, Paul?
Google Cowan Air, Cowan Doors. Give us a ring, and we'll see if we're both a fit. Yeah, so that everyone wins. Then, if we're not a fit, we'll refer you to someone else.
Yeah, love it, and we'll pop the link down in the show notes for everyone for both businesses, folks, for you able to reach out and make contact and see if you're a fit, as Paul said. Mate, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Gary.
You got some people knocking on your door as we're speaking. So, folks, thanks again to Paul Cowan for coming along and sharing his incredible journey over the past 34 years. It's a journey that's well and truly not ended yet. So definitely reach out and see if you're a fit to work with Paul through either Cowan Air or Cowan Doors. Remember, folks, to like and subscribe to the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast. We're here to help you learn and grow and get better at leadership, better at business, and of course, help create high performance cultures, which you've heard Paul's version of how he's gone about doing that. And again, that dashboard that he's created is unbelievable, folks. Once again, I'm Gary Ryan from Organisations That Matter, and I look forward to you joining us all for the next episode. Thanks again, Paul.
Yeah, guys. Thanks. Bye.